A very warm welcome, and you're on to the program The Conversation, reaching you live from our studios in the Federal Capital Territory. My name is Mickey Atta, and you are welcome. Our conversationalist today is the former Chief Press Secretary to the Federal Capital Territory Minister and the Senior Special Assistant on Communications to the former Governor of Imo State. We're talking about Chief Cosmos Uzodimma. Mr. Cosmos, you are very welcome.
Thank you very much, Princess. Beloved valued audience, it's a great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for joining us today. Yeah. All right, let me give you a few snippets about our guest this day. Okay, Cosmos Uzodimma is a top-rated public relations officer. He is a consultant and public policy advisor. He is currently the lead consultant at Laurels Consult Limited, Abuja, which is a public relations firm. He's also, as I've said, a retired but not tired CPS to the FCT minister and was once the senior special assistant on communications to the former governor of Imo State, the Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha. Well, he's a consummate professional. Let me even just ask right from there, what got you so interested in information, and how did you get interested? Because usually Nigerian parents want you to be doctor, lawyer, that kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah, I from my childhood, I enjoyed great broadcasters, like Piers Morgan, Armand Paul. And I enjoyed the way these guys shaped public opinion. And it came to me that whatever you do, whoever has the mind who controls the mind of the public, controls the direction of culture, controls the direction of policy, controls, the masses. That's why. And I've had stories about people like, Freud, who taught the world how to shape the human mind. So I got interested in that, because that's the root of every direction of human thought.
Right, the mind.
Yes,
okay, so what did you study in school?
Instead, I read political science, which as a precursor to my going into media.
Right.
And like I was answering before, even while I was in secondary school in Government College, Umuahia,
yeah,
we had
GCI.
Yeah,
I said GCI.
No, GCU.
GCU. Umuahia. Yes.
It's not Ibadan.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's a much more senior to Ibadan.
Right.
This one is 1929 founded.
Wow.
It's a school that brought up people like Chinua Achebe.
Wow.
Kensara Nwiwa.
Oh my goodness.
The people you have read, Gabriel Okara.
Wow.
So all those people, those great authors.
Right.
And
I think Gabriel Okara was a medical doctor as well.
Well, I don't know, but he was a poet. That's the thing. Yeah. And at the time, I became the chief graphist. At class 2, I was invited to join the magazine board of my hostel.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I was in class 3, I was inducted to be a member of the entire school magazine, which was the Red Star. And by the time I was in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka at my Department of Political Science, I became the editor of the Senator, which was the magazine of the Department of Political Science Student Association. And so having gone through secondary school, in media, in the school magazine, in the dormitory magazine, school magazine, university magazine, it became natural that at graduation, I should follow that path.
Right.
And that's how it is. I read, even though I was reading political science, I knew that you could read political science or mass communication or any of the social sciences.
Right. And
all you need to do is to do well in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are, bingo,
yes.
right there.
Okay, well, did your parents support you? Or did were they just looking on like, let's just indulge him?
You've said the right thing. It was, let's just indulge him. You know, they had expected me. My father expected me to read medicine.
Right.
You know, because if you were in government college, they will expect you that you read medicine. And indeed, a lot of our graduates were excellent in medicine and other professional courses.
Yes.
You could think about somebody like Dr. Mokolo, who did one of the first heart transplants in Nigeria. In fact, his son was, was knighted by the Queen in England recently.
Oh my
because of the exceptional role he played in the fight against COVID during the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
So the Queen it was among the last people that the Queen honored before she died. And so other areas were like architecture or engineering.
Right.
But incidentally, my father had shaped me into social sciences, into literature, before I went into the university. Because my father was good in that, and while I was in the house, my father had a couple of books on literature. And one of them was English Extracts and Exercise, and another one called Model Essays. And while I was in secondary school, I discovered those books and I devoured them, and I became good in writing essays. That at WAEC, I made an A2 in English.
Wow.
So it was like social science became the thing for me.
Yes.
Yes. Humanities, so to speak, became the thing for me.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's a very interesting one and very interesting beginning. How about your mom?
Well, my mom was a businesswoman, but she was a brilliant woman. In those days when they did Standard 6.
Yes.
She got distinction. And she became both, at that time, she became both a housewife and a businesswoman.
Okay.
In Kefi.
Right.
Dealing in provisions, and she had a shop.
Okay.
In Kefi in Plateau State.
Right.
Before the Civil War. This was where we were. And even in the home, she in my village, she owned what I can say the biggest shop in my community. But my father too was first and foremost a teacher. And then he resigned to join Costain West Africa as a timekeeper in those foremost construction companies in the country. And then after that, by the time their contracts were finished, he went into business. Also became a produce buyer.
Right.
So
how come you haven't thought yourself of contesting for any elective position?
One of the earliest books I read was the biography of John F. Kennedy by a certain Longfellow. I have forgotten, somebody said education is what remains after what you've learned in school has been forgotten. So everything I read in that book, I've forgotten it. But the only one that remains is there are three things you need to run politics, to be in politics. First, the money. Right. Second, the money. And third, the money.
Yeah, I just guessed the answer. I haven't read the book.
And so that is it. Then the other thing is, if you don't have the resources and you go into politics, you become a victim of the money bags.
Yeah. And the godfathers.
And you become a victim of the godfathers. And the most unfortunate thing you can be is to go into the position of power and you do not have the leverage to bring out the good things you want for the people. You see somebody somewhere pulling the strings.
Yes.
He determines who you appoint as your lieutenant. He determines the direction of policy. And if you don't, one of the worst is the Ngige episode.
I remember.
Where an ordinary illiterate businessman decided to pull down the governor of a state. It's just unfortunate. So I cannot be that kind of politician.
Yeah.
Because if I want to be a politician, I must have the leeway to the courage, the boldness, and the opportunity to impact on public policy.
Right.
Yes.
Which in any case you can do from, the standpoint of the media.
Of the media, yes.
Like you definitely employed. So what was it like when you were working with the then Federal Capital Territory Minister?
Well, I don't want. That was a minister that was very great. Mohammed Musa Bello was an excellent man. From him, we have always thought: is it possible for Nigerians not to be corrupt? But I saw in the man a gentleman that was not corrupt. And if you look at the foundation of some of the harvest, quick harvest, what I can call the low-hanging fruits, which the present minister easily harvested, the foundations were laid. A lot of them were projects which Mohammed Musa Bello has pulled up to the point he had done. In fact, he secured loans, paid a number of these loans, and you could see when we talk about the railway, there's something we talk about, the rolling stock. These are the coaches.
Yeah.
It takes over 4 years to get built. It's like if you order for aircraft, maybe you are running an airline.
Yes.
And you order for an aircraft. You don't just go and pull them from the shop.
Yeah.
You have to pay down.
Yeah.
And the corporation will start building them for you.
Mm-hmm.
So when this was what he did, and you couldn't do this except you are so incorrupt that you are able to harness the necessary fund and to pay without caring who is going to inherit it. It doesn't matter who is going to make the name, but let me lay the foundation for the harvest of the future. That was one of the things he did. And that was why I served him for about 4 years, but I served him at the conclusion of my term. Within his second term, I was not there. But within those 4 years of his second term, while I was with him, I am aware that those payments for the rolling stock for the trains have been made. And at the end of the election, in fact, while the election was going on was when they supplied these rolling stock. And before you knew it, within 6 months or thereabout, the train was activated. And people were screaming, oh, this man is a magician. It's good. It's excellent. The present minister is doing well. But, we also have to know that some of the foundations of the things he harvested were laid by the immediate past minister. And
he's the immediate past minister.
Who? Mohammed Musa Bello.
Is the immediate past minister. Because a whole lot of people around Abuja feel, the immediate past minister didn't do anything.
Yeah, because...
You've heard that too?
Yes, because he was a man. He's an excellent man. One of the things you don't do, one of the things, as he was appointing me his press secretary, I was like, being a Christian, there are things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to start fighting the former minister, start pulling him down. And there's sometimes when I write a speech and I say, well, this is what we met on ground, and if he reads it and sees that it's trying to cast the immediate past minister at a bad light, I say, no, I'm not here to fight the former minister. Let's make track from here.
Right.
So we will, anything about, even though the immediate past minister he met was a PDP man, and he was APC.
Right.
He never cast aspersions on him. So this is one excellent thing we did. And another thing again, there was no room for lying. He said, don't lie for me. I've not asked you to just say the truth about what we're doing.
Right.
And he did much. See, if you look at the roads that were in this NTA, all those places, these were accomplished by him. Some part of the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan Express Road that starts from the Ministry of Finance straight towards that passes up to AYA. He completed it and commissioned it. And the current, outer Southern Express Road, which is the road that's leading towards Apo now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we came, it was basically no work was there. But the critical things that make for road, like the bridges,
Right.
have been built, were built by him.
Okay.
So now it is easy to just, do the surface dressing. But the critical things like bringing down the hills, moving the earth, doing the bridges, doing the culverts, these things that brought the road up to more than 60 to 70% before he left, were done during his tenure.
Okay.
So that was why it was easy that within the first 6 months of the present minister,
They were completed.
they were completed. And people were like, oh, this is magic.
Yeah.
But there's no magic about construction.
Absolutely. Because there are time frames.
There are time frames. There's no
Frames.
magic about it. You
Absolutely.
can't do anything within 6 months. A
Mhm.
major road, it's not. So this is it.
Right.
Yes.
So where's the minister now?
Well, he's a quiet man. He's not the man he's not a rabble rouser. He's living his private life and quiet and happy with himself, with the great thing he did. I'm sure he's a man that is sleeping easy and free,
Right.
because I'm sure his conscience must be justifying him.
Yes. All right. Tell us about the time you spent over in Imo. Are you from Imo State?
Yes, I am from
Yeah.
Imo State.
Okay.
That's another. I am a very lucky person.
Yeah.
I work with two great characters you can talk about. Ihedioha came to Imo State with an agenda to make things right. You notice, we don't want to mention names, the immediate past two governors. I mean, every news, if you were in Abuja, you were any part of the world, everything you were hearing about Imo State became like a comedy center. I mean, all kinds of policies that you never knew that were not going to yield nothing. Like you have local government administration, the governor will bypass them and create a community administrations. Things, institutional framework that were not recognized by the Constitution. We became a hotbed for various, policy experimentations. When there are already structures that were on ground, that all you needed to do was to activate them and work with them. And you began to have things about free education. Somebody will tell you that Imo State, what we need is strong institutional framework we're not an educationally backward state. So all we need was build the frameworks for education to prosper in Imo State. And there was no infrastructure in Imo State. And most of those that were done were weak. And when Ihedioha came, and internally generated revenue and accountability was very weak, was non-existent.
Mm.
And when he came, being his speechwriter, I can tell you, because I will do the research, I will talk to the commissioners, I'll talk to the various agencies on any aspect I want to highlight. And I was bamboozled to find out that we came into power in Imo State at a time what was being generated was like 500 million naira every month. But within that 7 months he was in power, the revenue had moved from 1.5 billion. How did we achieve that? He achieved that by plugging all the various areas of leakage. And then within that period, within 3 months, because he got into power in May, but before he settled, the rainy seasons had come. And the rainy season in Imo State that year was particularly very, very heavy. In fact, as a member of the Full Gospel, we had our convention in the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International, to which I was a member. We had our convention in Owerri in November, around end of October. And the rainy season was still, in fact, rain was pouring.
Wow, up to November.
Up to late October.
Hmm.
You know what he did? But immediately that rain stopped in early November. 21, he activated 21 projects it was like an engineering blitzkrieg that between October, November, and December, as people were coming back for Christmas, most of the terrible areas where the roads were bad, the drainages were bad, the sewages that had burst, everything Owerri became clean again. And the major exits in and out of Owerri, like the one goes towards Onitsha, the ones that went to Aba, the ones that went to Maya, the ones that went to Okigwe, those roads where work was already ongoing. And by December, before people started coming back for Christmas, a lot of things were being done. Imo State Airways, Imo State Airport, that was technically abandoned. In fact, he brought in night flying facilities, and before you know it, Imo State Airport became the third busiest airport in Nigeria in terms of aviation traffic. And he went on, reformed in all the 27 local governments in Imo State. He said, look, he knew the importance of sports. When you engage, an idle hand is a devil's workshop. And by the time you have given 27 Olympic-size stadiums to youths in the various local government, they're busy. People are busy, and he noticed that the local government people are not going to work. A study just found that many of them don't even have accommodation. Because the local government reform of 1976, that was when most of these secretariats were built. And from that 1976 up to 2019, most of the local governments in Imo State had been marking time. But when he came in, he immediately worked with the various local government administrations, and they started expanding their secretariats. Okay. So all of them were having a prototype secretariat of over 48 rooms, meeting with hall for meeting and hall for executive meetings. Mm-hmm. So we can talk about with it. The most important thing was that he assembled experts from across the world. Okay. And most of the politicians were against him. So why are you doing that? We joined you and ran an election and you're not using us. So he said, don't worry. Calm down. We are coming, but let's use the experts who are going to deliver the results. And the results he delivered. Yes. And that's why till today that 7 months has a very remarkable mark in the heart of the people of Imo State.
So where is he now?
Well, he's around. He just celebrated his 60th birthday. Yes. And the whole country was agog. We can call it one of the most high-profile program by a politician in Abuja in the last 1 year. The Abuja Continental Hotel, where it was, the hall was filled to the brim. You could see former senators, former presidents, former governors. The place was filled up.
Secretaries of Commonwealth.
Yes, you saw it. So, okay, I'm happy you noticed it.
We had it in our news.
It was filled up. And not only that, when he went to Imo State, the same thing, he was widely, people were ecstatic to see him again, to celebrate, where he held his service in the central church, what we can call Cathedral of Christ or something of Resurrection in Owerri. Yes. And he had that his birthday there too. And that was where he went for the Thanksgiving. Okay. It's a wonderful thing. So he's there now, and he's biding his time and asking God, which direction do you want me to go? He's a devout Christian. He's a knight of the Anglican Church. He's not, he's a devout Christian. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, but what was it like working with some of, you talked about work with the Federal Capital Territory Minister, but with him, what was it like working? Was he the kind of person that, he gave you a free hand with the speeches, or was he the one who would have to pick and see everything you're doing? Was he the kind of person who listened to others? Or was it a one-man show like some of the other Imo State governors have been?
That is why,
without mentioning names,
that's why we're excited with him. That's why we love him. He's so much loved, because most of the people he worked with, a lot of us still have high regard for him. We have very high respect for him, because he believed in collegiate administration, and the Imo State Executive Council. Naturally, the Executive Council should be maybe the commissioners and heads of agencies. But because he needed more input in governance, he expanded it to include us, the senior special assistants, and some of the heads of agencies. And whenever we came for a meeting, it was like a United Nations conference. You see, brilliant minds were speaking at every time. And he listened. He was a man that listened. And not in listening, he a very brilliant man, of course. This is a man that he had grown through the ranks. He worked during the period, he witnessed men like Yaradua, became the SA to the Vice President Atiku Abubakar. He became PA to the former Senate President Iyorchia Ayu, and Albert Legoge became press secretary to Albert Legoge. And then from then he became a member of the House of Representatives, became chief whip. And after being chief whip, he went on to become the deputy speaker. At that point, he was a chief whip. Everything people is talking about, the doctrine of necessity. It was in his house.
Tell us about, what will happen? We want to know all the details. So let's just go on a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear a whole lot more from our guest Cosmas. Just stay on with the conversations. You're welcome back. You're still on to the conversations on Kaftan Television. And we are still talking to our guest, Cosmas Uzodimma, who is going to tell us the behind-the-scenes events that happened during the, let's call it the Yaradua transition into the Goodluck Jonathan administration. Well, he's going to give us a peep into how exactly the doctrine of necessity was fashioned. Please give us the story.
Yeah, immediately Yaradua passed on. There was almost something like a constitutional crisis. And people were like, well, there was the party arrangement. And that was what the Constitution has said. The party has said, zoning, that this presidency belongs to the North. But as unfortunately, Yaradua, may the peace of the Lord be with him. He was a fantastic president. So he had passed on. And it was like, what was going to happen? Are we going to honor party arrangement or the ground norm of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Constitution? Lesser mortals would have said, well, this is a PDP government. Let us break down the house in order to pick up a northerner for the presidency. But in his house, it wasn't him alone. People like, Tambuwal, Honorable Tambuwal, His Excellency Tambuwal, and the Speaker of the House at that time, from the West,
right,
and himself, and a couple of other young talks. I mean, they gathered in his house, so we were close to him, and we could know. And they said, look, in all these things, let us obey the Constitution of the land. And whenever he talks about it, he gives credit to men like Tambuwal. He said the resolution was drafted by him, drafted the resolution, and said, look, this is the Constitution to have its way. And whenever he speaks about this, he gives kudos to the northern politicians who allowed the Constitution to hold sway without heating up the polity.
Right.
And it came to pass. And that was so when they went to the House that time, they read it. And they also knew that the Senate was doing the same thing.
Who read it?
Tambuwal. And the Senate was doing the same thing. And which was now the present governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed. This is one of the things that began to increase his profile. And but it was like the Senate, it's not like they had a deal, okay, we're going to do this is what you're going to give to us. But it looks like the House didn't have a deal. For them, it was national service, not personal gain, was what was, foremost in their heart. So they weren't going to bargain, we're going to go on this doctrine of necessity. At the end of the day, please, this person should be a minister, this person should take this person should take that. They didn't do that. They just said, no, let's do what is right. It doesn't matter, what happens, whether it's of benefit to us or not. But he keeps thanking God that at the end of the day, those of them that were there in those days, when the next election came, most of them returned, and Tambuwal became the Speaker of the House, himself became the Deputy Speaker, and so on and so forth. A number of people became Chief Whip because already they had
As of then, he wasn't the Deputy Speaker.
No, he was a Chief Whip when that happened.
Okay.
That was Yar'Adua's first term.
Yes.
Which Goodluck was supposed to complete.
Right.
And the doctrine of necessity made Goodluck acting president.
Right.
It didn't make Goodluck president.
Right.
It made him acting president. Because as at that time, the number of days that a president should be absent and the deputy should take over had clocked. I had overshot. And there was a gridlock. But something needed to break that gridlock. That was what they did.
Yes.
And then he was now sworn in. Goodluck was now sworn in as acting president.
Yes, yes.
So in the course of time, God called the president home. And then immediately, without much ado
or equivocation,
the president proceeded to become the president, was sworn in again as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Oh, interesting times.
This is what happened. Yes.
Interesting times.
So he's been there at the nick of time.
Yes.
Honestly. In fact, at a point in time in his political career, perhaps we should know that he was picked up as, at the point in time the military was, having this, dancing around the transition program. And there were some men that were like, look, you should be forthright. If you're handing over, you let us know. If you're not handing over, you let us know. And within the course of time, they arrested Yar'Adua. And he was like the media, PR.
The other Yar'Adua.
Yeah, the other Yar'Adua, yes. The Shehu Yar'Adua. The other Yar'Adua. And the senior Yar'Adua, General Yar'Adua. And when the military arrested him, the military put out a release that it was the police that had arrested him. It was my boss, Ihedioha, that put out another press release that told Nigerians that it was not police that arrested Yar'Adua, but the army, the military that arrested Yar'Adua. And he was arrested immediately. They picked him up, they bugged his phone, followed him, and arrested him. And it had to take the intervention of a distinguished Nigerian before he was released. So he has been there at the nick of time in this country.
Wow, the country's history. Interesting to give us all these slices of history. Okay, so how did you get to be in the nick of time to become the CPS to the FCT minister? Give us a little scoop.
Well, I believe that first, love Nigeria.
Right.
And when you are serve the people. One of the biggest, when we talk about customer service, when we talk about productivity, we have our example in Jesus Christ. He served selflessly. And when I got into government, I looked into the character. And he loved, when you talk about public relations, just copy the way the Lord did his services. You don't, no partiality. Respect everybody and make sure that you deliver the goods. And by the special grace of God, I tried my best in the positions I was appointed. I was deputy managing editor of the Abuja Digest. And I put in my best. I made sure I transformed the magazine. Right now, if you look at that magazine, you see its beautiful layout, that newspaper, the official newspaper of Abuja FCT administration. When I became the deputy managing editor, which was who you were like the chief executive, the manager. So I sat down, transformed it, gave it a very beautiful outlook. And then from then on, I was moved to, they said, they needed somebody who was going to transform the public relations establishment in AGIS, Abuja Geographic Information System. Okay. They said, okay, who else? Let's go bring Cosmas there. They brought me there. So I was there for 2 years. And while I was there, I was doubling. In fact, I was speechwriter to Olajumoke Akinjide, speechwriter to who was the deputy minister, the minister of state under Bala Mohammed. Okay. And I was the speechwriter to Bala Mohammed also.
My goodness.
And so, when this present minister came, it was like there was a gap. You know, he needed somebody who was going to combine these qualities. A press secretary who would be press secretary and give him good services in every area. And they were like, is there no person in this place that can do this for us? They said, there is one man in AGIS. They said, go get him. They brought me, and by the way, he interviewed me. After interviewing me, and everybody knows that he's a very respected and distinguished Muslim. And one interesting thing when he called, because the people have said so many things about him.
Yeah, we heard that he's a fundamentalist.
Yes, good. I'm happy you said that. People have heard that he's a fundamentalist. And when I came to his office, he asked, tell me about you. The first thing I told him was, maybe you don't know, I'm a born-again Christian. It was like really, he glossed over it. He didn't even talk about it. He said, what are they telling him about myself? A week after, I received a letter drafting me to his office. I said, imagine how Nigerians pull down somebody. One of the best, if you're a devout Muslim, it's good for the country. You're a devout Christian, it's good for the country. So if you allow the fear of God in the way you serve the public, it's good for the country. What is wrong is maybe when somebody uses it as a basis for nepotism.
Yes.
This is what is wrong. But I believe that, faith should be a force for good, right, and not an instrument of, destruction.
Yeah, that's you, but some other people feel the other way around. Well, and that's what makes people have that fear. That's why you can distinguish between, like you said.
But for him, faith was a force for good. For Mohammed Musa Bello, faith was a force for good.
Oh, interesting. Yes. Like I said, I heard it too. That he was one of these fundamentalists. That, oh my goodness, because out of there tends to spring these terrorist tendencies. Oh, very interesting indeed. Okay, so now in your consultancy, is it like governments that consult you? Can individuals come in?
Yeah, basically, very interesting. What brought me into what I'm doing was a time came when I met when I was a young information officer at Abuja Municipal Council. A young lady was posted to the United States Embassy in the United States Information Service in Abuja then. Under the head then was a certain lady, Claudia Anyaso, a Black American married to a Nigerian. And then it was like she needed something, and Claudia told her to go and meet me in my place in Abuja Municipal Council. When she came, I was like, yes, let me ask you, in Washington, what business do people do? Because Abuja is like Washington. What opportunities are there for people in the private sectors? Well, nothing more except things like consultants, document producers, lobbyists, and speech writers and public relations experts. I said, oh, really? So I immediately took it that in this Abuja, if I'm going to retire, I must fall into one of these categories, because I'm talking to somebody who is in a city that has the same character with Abuja. If she knows it, then it must be true. Then by the time, while I was working, I was preparing myself. I was studying. I was a speechwriter, but I was improving myself. I could write books, publish magazines, publish articles, and things like that.
Yes.
And by the time I retired, I set up my own establishment. And interestingly, I'm being patronized. For instance, I have 3 books I'm doing for for some politicians now, some public officer. My hands are full.
Oh, nice.
You know, people think, so I had somebody the other day saying, you can't read politician, you can't read politics. In fact, you must read engineering. Any person who read, is it your brother, who is it? Our man, Reno Mockery. It's so very unfortunate what he's saying. But he doesn't know that whatever you do.
What exactly did he say?
He said, that any person who goes to, let me paraphrase it. If you go to university, you go to read political science, sociology, mass communication, that you're not getting, you shouldn't, technically that you're consigned to the backyard of the society. That it must be medicine, it must be what do you call it?
Law.
Engineering, law. But it's such depth of ignorance. There are many people who are into some of these so-called highfalutin professions. I know a medical doctor who is doing cake.
I know a medical doctor whose cakes are
cake,
sold out.
It's cake that he is doing. But I'm sure that if you ask Reno Mockery, should I go and learn cake? He will say, why go to university to learn cake? Well, these are all, pastries, learn confectionery or whatever you call it. So, but by the time I came out, after I left, paid employment, I opened my office and I have enough patronage. Besides that, I do public relations consultancy, and have, in fact, you can have your own website, where you have a website I call Focus on Abuja, in which I put out specific important news about Abuja, and also where you can feel the Abuja vibe. These are things that are there. So many, whatever course, God has enabled you to do. All you need to do. I was in secondary school. A certain strong man, Kiliwi Nwachukwu, was one of the strong men, muscle men in the southeast when I was a baby. When I was a child in secondary school, he came to Government College Umuahia to perform. This man was the kind of man who would use a rope and tie on a car and use his mouth and pull the car. These were the kind of entertainment and performances he did. And so people we all were filled with awe. See this man doing this. Whenever he finishes a particular show, he will punctuate it with anything you want to do in this life, do and well. So I say, really, whatever God has asked you to do it well. And I read the book, The Tipping Point, by Malcolm Gladwell. He says, anything you're doing in this world, and you put in about, 10,000 hour mark on it, you must rise to the level of international reputation on that career. And that is what I have experienced in life. Whatever you do, you concentrate. If you're writing speeches, you concentrate on it. If you're writing articles, you write books. Whenever I put out something on my Facebook like this, people read and they comment and say, this is wonderful. And I'm on my books right now doing that.
Wow. Can we have a little sneak preview of what maybe the titles of even two of them?
There is one, my journey to Israel. I call it the epiphany of an African pilgrim. That's another book I'm doing, a paradise in the savannah, Abuja. A paradise in the savannah, in which I want to chronicle my Abuja journey.
Right.
And but there are other books I'm doing for other men.
When they're ready, let us know.
I won't talk about those ones.
No, don't bother. Yes. So what really made you, start going into social commentary? Because now you're a public affairs analyst, well sought after by many media organizations.
Of course. This is why I came in the first instance. Because I have noticed that there are liberal work. You can imagine at a point in time, it's not by surprise that at time the international globalists, liberals wanted to change culture. And when they wanted to change culture, you know what they did? They bought over the media. And that is why when you go to a place like United States of America, it's only Fox News is the one that is the champion of conservative opinion. Say MSNBC, ABC, CNN, all of them, BBC, all of them, they are all pro-gay, pro-LGBT, have socialist ideas and, pro-abortion, all these things. And before you knew it, the society was tilting. You see, children were no longer having the conservative moral values was on the recess.
Right.
So I noticed it. I said, no, we have to go in and start, because you must. I read a book by a certain man who is a family evangelist. He said we must speak out. Otherwise, if you don't speak out, you can't hold your own ground. So when you sit back,
yes,
and you don't speak out, you don't speak up, you will not hold your own ground. And there was a story by Ben Carson about a certain man that bought a turkey for the mother during Thanksgiving and sent the mother the turkey. And so the mother took delivery of the turkey and slaughtered it and ate it. So suddenly, because he was so busy, he didn't remember to accompany it with a message. So when he woke up, he called his mom and said, "Mom, did you see the turkey?" I said, "Oh," he said, "Yes, I saw the turkey. But it was sweet." The man said, "Mommy, what happened?" He said, "Did you eat the turkey?" The mother said, "Yes, I ate it." He said, "Oh, mom, it's not turkey for me. This aesthetic turkey. That turkey, it can dance, it can sing, it can
It can
do a lot of good things." He said, he said, "But when I was killing it, it should have said something."
Oh my goodness.
He said, "But when I was killing it, it didn't say something."
Yes. No.
So at least we that believe in Christian values, faith values, who believe in conservative values, it's time for us to start speaking. Otherwise, if we don't speak up, these woke, liberal globalists they will take the whole world and they will put us into the baggage.
They'll probably kill us.
Probably kill us when we are not saying something. Let's at least say something.
Right.
Yes.
So, like he's saying, paraphrase even the police, the security, everybody's saying, you see something, say something.
Yes.
Right. It's been such a delight speaking with you, Mr. Cosmos Uzodimma. You have really lit us up today. So we're hopeful that when we call you again, you will make yourself available, because it's been such a delight speaking with you.
Thank you very much, Princess. This is my first time with you, and I can say I've had a swell time. My beautiful audience there, we thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
Right. Yes. On that blessed note, we've come to the end of today's The Conversation. We've been speaking with Chief Cosmos Uzodimma, a former Chief Press Secretary to the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, as well as a former Senior Special Assistant on Communications to a former Governor of Imo State, the Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha. All right. I hope you had a wonderful time, especially with those insights that he's dropped for us. Okay, till we come again your way again. I'm Mickey Atta. Have a beautiful day.